Hello everyone, and welcome to Group P's team presentation on performance appraisal. We are myself Amar, James, Lene, Shing Hay, Yiwen, and Bryan. Now whether or not you have been professionally employed, you likely have had some encounter with a performance appraisal. How about that time you received feedback on a university assignment? Or as an employee of a professional organization, you have probably been subject to monthly, biannual, or annual performance reviews, which often determine important factors such as compensation and promotion. So why is this idea of performance appraisal so important? Well, 57% of CEOs believe their employees are regularly recognized for their work, skills, and contributions, whilst a mere 9% of employees agree. To bridge this gap, effective performance appraisal is vital, and clearly organizations have not been implementing such practices well. Now this may include recognition for good work and skills, or even constructive criticism. Either way, performance appraisal is essential for employee and organizational development. In our analysis of performance appraisal, we highlight the importance of three main theories used. First, the behavioral approach, which focuses on specific behaviors of an employee that are essential to a job. We note the approach is most effective when behaviors assessed are related to a job. However, there is inherent subjectivity, given two raters may interpret the same behavior differently. Next, the traits approach, which focuses on characteristics and specific personality traits. Again, this is useful when the traits assessed are in fact related to the job. However, critics claim there is inherent subjectivity when adopting this approach. And finally, the results-based approach. The most widely used appraisal technique compares performance against predetermined goals. Our focus today will be on the results-based approach, and specifically management by objectives. Management by objectives, or MBO, is an iterative process of appraisal and goal setting, first outlined by Peter Drucker in 1954. MBO involves setting objectives for employees and corresponding milestones by which performance can be measured. These milestones form a part of what are known as key result areas, or KRAs, and facilitates an easier measuring process, allowing the employee to receive timely feedback. Given this iterative nature of MBO-style appraisals, organization and employee goals are set during the performance review. The typical MBO process follows a cycle as such. We first define organizational goals. Next, we define employee objectives. These can be things like meeting certain sales targets, attaining proficiency in a required technical skill, or achieving a minimum customer service target. Thirdly, we ensure there is continuous monitoring of the employee in question. This ensures that raters are able to gain an understanding of an employee throughout a specific time frame. Next, we have a performance evaluation, followed by feedback, and finally the performance appraisal itself. In this stage, based on the findings of the previous review cycle, individual tailored goals are then set for the employee and the organization.
Next, we move on to a major study that has changed the way that we look at MBO. To this matter, we will look at a study of a longitudinal assessment of management by objectives, which explores the correlation between a reinforcement of MBO training and practices and long-term results. The methodology of the study was a longitudinal analysis of two medium-sized firms over the period of 30 months. Each was assessed by criteria categorized into 5 distinct aspects. These were security, social, esteem, autonomy, and self-actualization. Data was collected periodically from these two firms, with the first measure recorded before MBO was explained to either organization. The second measure was then collected immediately after MBO training, and the third and fourth were conducted 6 months and then 12 months after that. The results of the study were quite confronting. Whilst both firms experienced immediate gains in the 5 dimensions during the period between the first and second collections, the numbers revealed a gradual increase of net dissatisfaction in all 5 criteria of the study, from before the MBO to the last measure after training. What this suggests is that while implementation of the MBO program can increase productivity, this is not enough. Core to the success of an MBO program is some form of reinforcement of what is learned and practiced in the initial MBO training sessions. The crucial period where this need is heightened is in the immediate 6 months following training. An MBO that does this is linked with increased productivity. To summarize, this study supports the claim that MBO can be an incredibly successful method of increasing productivity, but only on the condition that there is a continual reinforcement after initial training, which in turn also implies a high level of commitment from top management.
Next, we move on to a short interview with Amar Subramaniam and his experience with performance appraisal whilst at PwC, an accounting firm. So, Amar, could you give us a little bit of background about the performance appraisal process?
Sure. At PwC, we followed a results-oriented MBO approach. We begin by having a meeting with our performance coach at the beginning of the financial year, where we set our goals and objectives for the upcoming year. There are two firm-mandated objectives, being a 100% utilization rate and a 30% project revenue margin, whilst the third and fourth objective is entirely up to the employee. An example could be to pass internal exams to assist in technical accounting proficiency. Importantly, these measures were objective, and I had full control over achieving them. Throughout each project we are staffed on, managers evaluate your performance by monitoring your progress against the goals and objectives you set earlier on. Often managers would also look at behavioral dimensions, such as attitude, to gain a rounded view of the employee. What I really liked was the instant and continuous feedback that was provided, which then became an important talking point at the end of year appraisal. Here we are scored on a scale of 1 to 4 for each objective set, and in addition, we set our goals for the upcoming financial year.
A longitudinal study of MBO found that there must be a reinforcement of the MBO principles to ensure there is progress made in areas such as security, self-esteem, autonomy, and self-actualization. To what extent was there a reinforcement of principles at PwC?
Unfortunately, the amount of reinforcement varied based on the performance coach assigned to you. There was never a firm-wide mandate to ensure there was reinforcement of MBO, which often made appraisal time a difficult and tenuous process for many employees. This often meant that employees did not meet their objectives, which is a direct function of a poorly implemented MBO scheme.
So, in light of that, would you recommend any changes to the process? Would you keep an MBO style of appraisal or take a different approach?
There are aspects of PwC's appraisal process that are fantastic, and I would definitely maintain an MBO appraisal style. I think the benefits that you gain from having such an appraisal style far outweigh issues such as the required time commitment and top-level management participation that really ensures management by objectives is successfully implemented. The firm allows you to set your own goals in consultation with your performance coach, and there is also continuous, even real-time feedback gained on each different project that you are assigned on. I think this participative goal setting really does motivate employees, and real-time feedback does also facilitate this notion of continuous improvement. Where I think the process is lacking is in regular training and reinforcement of the management by objectives process as a whole. There needs to be more education about the process, such that all employees in the firm remain engaged and understand its importance. Whilst this may require additional upfront training costs and capital expenditure, the improvement in employee morale and productivity will ensure that the return on investment is exceptional.
Finally, we move on to the major strengths and weaknesses of MBO. As a thorough process, we note that MBO is complete and involves multiple stakeholders throughout a review cycle. Furthermore, there is continuous feedback and clear goal setting in the process to ensure that employees and management understand what is required during a period. Finally, we note that MBO is participative in nature, which we believe aids employee motivation. Given that employees themselves assist in setting KRA targets, they are likely more motivated to achieve them. However, critics of MBO highlight the need for perfect alignment between all steps in the MBO process, which may be unrealistic in practice. Furthermore, the need for continuous monitoring and feedback is expensive and time-consuming, and may not achieve optimal results, given there is a focus in MBO on outcomes over efforts.
We would like to leave you with a concluding thought from Peter Drucker. Management by objectives works, if you know the objectives. As such, when MBO is well implemented, it is a strong tool to measure and manage performance. Thank you for listening.